was lovely. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the First Parish in Framingham. I'm Andre LaMontagne, and I use he, him pronouns. I'm the chair of the Ministerial Intern Committee. First Parish in Framingham is a welcoming congregation. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. We celebrate and welcome people of all ages, races, gender identities, sexual orientations, abilities, socioeconomic statuses, or beliefs. We welcome you here in the meeting house or on Zoom or wherever and whenever you may be watching this service in the future. Unitarian Universalism is a liberal religion that honors wisdom from many sources. We keep our minds open to the religious questions people have pondered across vast times and spaces. Please be sure to read the announcements in the order of service. First Parish is a busy place this spring. Immediately following worship, you're invited to join us for coffee hour in Scott Hall, right across the courtyard. For the safety and comfort of all, please remember to keep your mask on inside First Parish buildings unless you are eating or drinking. Also, please take a moment to turn your phones or other devices to their quietest settings. While beeps and buzzes can be distracting, we welcome your human noises, cooing, babbling, laughter, and all. We especially love the sound of your singing, so please join in. Since the year 1701, people have gathered as this community to rest or recharge, to be challenged or affirmed. Those people are like you. You belong here, maybe only for the next hour, but we hope for longer. We are happy to have you with us. I now invite you to take a deep breath in and out. Continue to take a few more deep breaths and to begin to release whatever you need to let go of, to be more fully present to yourself, one another, and the sacred in this time and place. A flame within a chalice is a primary symbol of the Unitarian Universalist faith tradition, to symbolize the light of reason, the warmth of community, and the flame of hope. It is our tradition to begin our worship by kindling the flame of our chalice. We light our chalice with these words from Thich Nhat Hanh. Water flows from high in the mountains. Water runs deep in the earth. Miraculously, water comes to us and sustains all life. Water and sun green these plants. When the rain of compassion falls, even a desert becomes an immense green ocean. Please rise in body or spirit to sing the hymn number 145, As Tranquil Streams, found in your gray hymnal.
please remain standing as we join our voices in both our sung and spoken affirmations. The lyrics are in your order of service. And because we're always learning new things, I'm going to ask you to please turn to the center aisle and listen carefully. We're going to have the pulpit side speak the regular text, and the piano side will say what is in italics. I encourage you to listen carefully to the words that are spoken to you. So pulpit side, piano side. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve all life with compassion, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. This is our great covenant, one with another and with our God. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Lauren Strauss. I'm the Director of Religious Exploration here at First Parish. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And this morning, I would like us all to take a deep breath in, and remembering that there are all kinds of ways that you can be comfortable meditating, which means if something I say does not work for you, don't do it. On your breath out, close your eyes or find something close to you to focus on. We're going to play some sounds of the ocean now. And I just want you to listen to it and think about how you experience it in your mind and your body. Do you see any images as you listen? Does the stress that you hold in your body change as you listen? What emotions come up? What thoughts? Just sit and listen for a few moments to these sounds. Sorry about this. Sit and listen to nothing for a few seconds. We are experiencing technical difficulties. But maybe in your minds, you can kind of listen to the heater that's on and just envision it, feel in it the sound of the ocean for a few more moments, and then we'll move on. Oh, miraculous. So now I would like you to get into small groups of between 3 and 5 people for just a couple of minutes and have a short conversation. I'm going to give you about 4 minutes to have a conversation within your group about the things that you experienced and thought about while you listened. And I'll let you know when we're halfway through our 4 minutes and then when we have a minute left, so that you all can make sure that everyone in your group who wants to has a chance to talk. Ready? Group up, please. Well, that was it. Upstairs. We are halfway through our time of talking. We have 1 minute left. Oh, you guys are good. All right, my friends. We don't have a lot of time left for this, but I would love it if anybody had thoughts that they wanted to share about what you just talked about. Ben?
Yeah, first off, I'm hoping everyone could hear the ocean sounds, because of the technicalities. I felt like I had to play it straight from my phone so that way everyone would have a chance to hear some ocean effects. So with that being said, I pictured myself in one of the summer houses, one up in Gloucester, Massachusetts, overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. Like to, help myself. Can't help it if I just love to sit down at one of the chairs, stare out into the sea from the yard, and listen to all the waves and the seagulls and the nice warm sun.
Thank you.
I did the same, except I was on the Pacific coast.
Oh.
I told a funny story. I was on a ferry going from Provincetown to Boston, and I was contracting at the time, and I got a phone call about a job. Just at that moment, 40 feet away, a humpback whale breached the water, and I said, "Excuse me, a whale just came out of the water. I'll call you back." So the lesson I learned was that things happening to me don't, there's a whole world out there. That's what we said in our group. Whole world out there we're not aware of, and maybe those little problems and stuff aren't that important.
Anybody else? Thank you. So here's something for you to think about throughout the week and talk over with your family and friends. What would it mean to you if you could never see or smell or hear the ocean again? And now we will sing our children and youth and teachers to religious exploration.
I am Elizabeth Kavanaugh Murphy, and I use she, her pronouns. It's my honor to serve as First Parish's ministerial intern. In our community, there is great joy and there is also great sorrow. We set aside this time each week because we know that joy shared is joy expanded, and sorrow shared can feel as though someone is lifting a burden. Remember that you can always share your joys and concerns in the book at the back of the sanctuary, or you can submit them online each week. Interspersed with our sharing, we sing hymn number 1002, Comfort Me. That's in your teal hymnal. We sing together to lift up our joys and sorrows, but also so that you might have a song ready whenever you need comfort. To begin, Barbara Yu writes with uncertainty, I'm thinking of my brother Dave, who has heart surgery scheduled this week. Vanessa P. writes, I would like the church to pray for Natalia. She came to Maine for a few months, but returned to Ukraine as she missed her home and her people. She lives, works, and stays in her apartment that she shares with her mom and her dog, Zuzu. She's only able to go for very short spring walks due to hidden landmines and threats of being bombed after she hears sirens. Let us now sing Comfort Me, verse 1 together. From Denise M., an addendum to last week's joy. Despite the constant barrage of negativity in the world, I want to share that my neighbors, organized by our own Sarah Middleman, provided my family with hot meals during the difficult time of my sister's ongoing but improving illness. Chris R. and Eileen H. share, we just returned from a wonderful 3.5-week retirement road trip down south. We happened to be in Savannah, Georgia on Easter Sunday and attended the UU church there. It was comforting to find a familiar service so far from home and to be welcomed as fellow UUs. It turns out that the church is known as the Jingle Bell Church because James Pierpoint, the musical director in the 1850s, was the composer of Jingle Bells. And Deb D shares, I passed my follow-up for my heart valve replacement, and I'm good to go. We'll now sing the second verse, Sing With Me. And as always, we light one final candle for all the joys, concerns, or sorrows which are felt deeply yet remain unspoken. Let's sing now, Speak for Me. Let us continue now in a moment of prayerful contemplation. Spirit of life, Spirit of love, divine spark, we feel your presence as spring colors and scents pop all around us in this season of renewal and rebirth. We celebrate the earth and all of her gifts this weekend, and we also know the urgency with which we must respond to earth's many pain points. May we harness the hope we feel with each sprouting seed and blooming flower and use it to spur the urgent action required to heal and protect our wondrous planet. May we combine our hearts and minds in new ways this season, inspiring more opportunity to rise up against all forms of exploitation and oppression. We pray for those facing daily fear and harm as a result of campaigns of hate directed toward them, specifically transgender people and all who love them, all those facing losing access to vital reproductive justice, and those who are living with the myriad consequences of our nation's unfolding gun crisis. For all of us. We pray for strength to continue the long work of justice building. Let's each take our shifts for the revolution, working and resting to sustain the stamina this task requires. May we remember that while the cycles of grief and joy, warmth and cold, peace and violence may feel beyond our control, we can always choose how we react and therefore influence those cycles. May we support one another in our struggles and our triumphs, for in both we experience what it means to be fully alive together. We recognize the divine mystery of one another and our unique places in the world community, maintaining reverence for all that sparks wonder and awe, and abundant hope for what is still to come. We say these words and do all things for love's sake. Amen. We'll continue with quiet contemplation for 1 minute. May you feel the love of this community from wherever you may be. Amen.
This morning's offering words were written by John Saxton. A religious community is like a river formed from the many streams of our lives that meet and merge and flow to the sea. As members and friends of this religious community, we share our time and energy, our creativity, imagination, and vision, our talents, skills, and gifts, and the streams of our individual lives to create a river that is both deep and broad, a river that is made of many streams, sustains life, and refreshes the land through which it flows. But the river of this community also depends on our shared financial support that makes real our shared values and vision. We will now receive an offering for the support of this religious community and its work in the world. You are invited to give generously and joyfully as you are willing and able. The offering will now gratefully be received. Varanasi, a poem by Mary Oliver. Early in the morning, we crossed the ghat, where fires were still smoldering. and gazed with our Western minds into the Ganges. A woman was standing in the river up to her waist. She was lifting handfuls of water and spilling it over her body, slowly and many times, as if until there came some moment of inner satisfaction between her own life and the river's. Then she dipped a vessel she had brought with her and carried it filled with water back across the ghat, no doubt to refresh some shrine near where she lives, for this is the holy city of Shiva, maker of the world, and this is his river. I can't say much more, except that it all happened in silence and peaceful simplicity, and something that felt like the bliss of a certainty and a life lived in accordance with that certainty. I must remember this, I thought, as we fly back to America. Pray God I remember this.
The poem is pretty short. I'm going to read it for you one more time. Varanasi by Mary Oliver. Early in the morning, we crossed the ghat, where fires were still smoldering, and gazed with our Western minds into the Ganges. A woman was standing in the river up to her waist. She was lifting handfuls of water and spilling it over her body, slowly and many times, as if until there came some moment of inner satisfaction between her own life and the river's. Then she dipped a vessel she had brought with her and carried it, filled with water, back across the ghat, no doubt to refresh some shrine near where she lives. For this is the holy city of Shiva, maker of the world, and this is his river. I can't say much more except that it all happened in silence and peaceful simplicity, and something that felt like that bliss of a certainty and a life lived in accordance with that certainty. I must remember this, I thought, as we fly back to America. Pray God I remember this. So, particularly in the last 2 months or so, I have had a lot of stuck days, working days mostly, struggling with writer's block or some tricky relationship problem, what to do next moment. When this happens, nothing, absolutely nothing can clear my mind or spark that creative energy quite like a long walk by the ocean. And I know I'm not alone in this because the beach road in the town where I live is almost always, no matter what time of day, sprinkled with walkers and bikers and folks just sitting in their parked cars, staring out at the water. Until recently, I can't say I thought that much, though, about why strolling on this beach road, or tossing pebbles into a pond, or even just a quick walk in the rain like we all had this morning, seems to clear my head. I just kind of took for granted that in these moments, I somehow find that perfect emotional combination of relaxed yet energized. Whether it's a morning spent kayaking on a local pond or an annual beach vacation, many of us seek out proximity to nature and especially to water to help us unwind and recharge. Wallace J. Nichols is a scientist who takes this anecdotal evidence that so many of us have experience with, that special connection we feel to bodies of water, and brings it into conversation with neuroscience, psychology, evolutionary biology, and more. In his book, Blue Mind, Nichols asks, what does science have to say about how being near, in, on, or underwater makes you happier, healthier, more connected, and better at what you do. As it turns out, science has a lot to say. What better time than this Earth Day weekend to explore this fascinating question? When Earth Day began in 1970, the goal of its politically bipartisan founders was to capture the full attention of the nation, following the model of the generation's anti-war protesting students. Environmental justice seemed like one issue that could unite people across political divides. 53 years later, it's clear we are not necessarily united around environmentalism. Capitalist society's general failure to curb climate change is unavoidable and often more prominent in the news during this month of April. A day intended to spark energy and action and to celebrate our planet's wonder can too often leave us feeling low on hope. At such times, we can look for a way back to connection, to bridge our geographical, political, and cultural divides. Seeking spiritual nourishment, we can follow the water. I wonder if this is part of what Mary Oliver has done with her poem, Varanasi. Oliver alludes to the city as being a spiritual center, the city of the Hindu god Shiva, destroyer and recreator of the world. The woman depicted as sacredly cleansing herself in the Ganges River seems to the poet to reach, quote, some moment of inner satisfaction between her own life and the river's, end quote. And we can almost feel that water as it spills down her body. In an unfamiliar culture on the other side of the world, it is as if we are right there. And it is this sensation of inner satisfaction and peaceful simplicity found through observation of a stranger's daily ritual that the poet wants so desperately to remember upon her return home. The fear of forgetting our transcendent moments in or along the water's edge can feel familiar. We take photos or collect seashells, buy souvenirs, all little attempts to hold onto our feelings. But it's harder to capture the smell of the pines or the seaweed, that breeze coming off the lake, or the feel of sand between our toes, whether we like it or hate it. In order to truly remember with our fully embodied selves, we must physically return. Wallace J. Nichols has a name for this human-water connection so many people crave. He calls it blue mind, which is defined as a mildly meditative state, characterized by calm, peacefulness, unity, and a sense of general happiness and satisfaction with life in that moment. It sounds like a nice place to return to. And evolutionary biology reminds us that humans, all of us, did evolve from earlier water-dwelling species. We begin life in the watery environment of a mother's womb. By the time we're adults, our bodies are around 60% water. But throughout our lives, our brains specifically are 80% made up of water. And the protein that they require to function is often derived from things found in the water. Nichols argues that it's likely that around 80%, think about this, 80% of humans live within 60 miles of a coastline of an ocean, a river, or a lake. And about 2/3 of our global economy comes from activities that include the water. Our bodies and minds depend on it, so it makes sense that our spirits too are so inspired by water. Artists and writers have sought to capture the energy and inspiration we derive from it for thousands of years. We're really just beginning to explore the true depths of both brain science and ocean science. There's still so much to learn, but what we already know can help us to live better. For example, years of research into the biological basis for happiness has shown that not all happiness is equal. A sense of well-being that's based on a higher purpose and on service to others is actually better for our bodies and even for our genes and our DNA than the simple happiness that maybe we get from consuming something or just doing what feels good in the moment. The people who tap into the sense of higher purpose and service to others regularly have actually been shown repeatedly to have a reduction in inflammation linked to cancer, diabetes, and heart disease. So how do we do this? How do we find this whole happiness most readily when we're outside, actively in motion, pursuing goals and solving problems? That canoeing trip, or a morning spent collecting trash on the shoreline, just sitting in your car and watching the water, feels good on a cellular level too. Neuroscience aside, many amazing organizations have unlocked their own practical secrets to this well-being associated with the water. Last summer, I volunteered at the Community Boating Center in New Bedford, which offers sailing and science education programs for children in the greater New Bedford area. And by definition of living there, these kids all live very close to the ocean. It's a coastal city. And for many participants, their time at CBC is truly their first experience being in or on that ocean. And the impact that this has on their lives cannot be overstated. At CBC, I repeatedly witnessed the power of the water to calm anxious young minds or bring a stillness to the most active and rambunctious kids. One teenager who has already faced more trauma and adversity in their life than many people ever will, told me one afternoon, just casually, "This is my most favorite place in the whole world. Once I'm out there sailing, the feeling of calm and quiet out on the water, it just never happens in the rest of my life. I just wish I could be out there all the time." And these kids get 1 week, five days a year for this experience. There's a spiritual quality to this nourishment of our souls that this child has experienced. As this wise teen knows, it can be nearly impossible to harness this feeling back on dry land where our personal struggles, systemic oppression, poverty, racism, and environmental degradation feel inescapable. So how do we find our way back when we can't totally escape to the sea? Research shows that watching videos of tropical fish or listening to the ocean sounds, like we tried earlier, can help us momentarily reset our minds and our bodies. I love the advice of Dr. Alexis Pauline Gumbs, who wrote a book called Undrowned: Black Feminist Lessons from Marine Mammals. In a recent interview, she explains how mammals who have dorsal fins, like dolphins and some whales, these fins evolved over time to help them maintain stability and control over their movements, despite living only in the ever-moving ocean that they cannot control. Gumbs refers to what she calls dorsal practices, the things that we can do for ourselves to keep us stable in a world where, quote, "It's like one thing after another is rushing in and it's all very destabilizing, triggering, and can be re-traumatizing," end quote. She speaks of the power of meditation, of staying connected to the people who share our values. Even just thinking about the ocean and its inhabitants, and perhaps how we can emulate their approaches to their environment, can nourish our souls. It can bring us back to that peaceful simplicity Mary Oliver witnessed along the Ganges, that perhaps you seek out on Cape Cod or Gloucester, or up in the mountains, or at a local state park. I deeply value how our Unitarian Universalist sources lift up this reverence for nature. Our living tradition draws from humanist teachings that trust science and reason, direct experience of transcending mystery and wonder, and of course, spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions, which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. It's no wonder our faith has embraced Earth Day as one of its holidays. Friends, in this sacred season, our attention is specifically called to notice the interconnected web of all existence, to remember not to presumptively place ourselves at the center. We are only one small part, as the vastness of the ocean so reminds us. As this spring's annual reawakening unfolds, may we get back in touch with all the ways our bodies, minds, and souls benefit from the gifts the waters of the natural world provide. We are hardwired to appreciate and to seek these comforts. And so we must also work to restore, protect, and maintain them for all the generations to come. May it be so. And please now join the choir in singing our final hymn, number 4, "I Brought My Spirit to the Sea." Thank you for joining us to worship this morning. Appreciation, as always, to our staff team, Dean, Lauren, and Sarah, our ushers this morning, Laura and Carol, to Tom for managing technology, and our wonderful choir. As you go forth to live the rest of your Sunday, I hope you have some time to unwind and recharge, and that you find a meaningful place to nourish your soul today and every day. And now, as we extinguish our chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, I remind you, until we are together again, may you hold the light always, and may the light of this community hold you always. Go in peace and go in love. Amen.